Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world show made for the fans by a fan. I am your host, as always, Richard Tiemann, and this is the award-winning Fan Show. I give myself an applause.
Those are the Fan Show fans.
Yes, raw audio. And everyone is a fan of something, and we have got something for every fan, including our pop culture fans. If you're a fan of comedy, we got a Pacific Northwesterner, Tyler Boeh. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
It's
You brought the strap.
I did.
Gold.
I bring that every time because every time somebody meets me before they're on the show, I usually get asked about it. And then if I show up empty-handed, they're like,
Where's the belt?
Where's the belt? Am I not good enough for the belt? And I didn't want that to be the case. So
it's impressive. Who put that together for you?
So the first year I did the show, hosted a fantasy football league, and I said, because we didn't have a prize in mind, we were just going to have fun, you know? Fun competition, that's still a thing, isn't it? You know, no prize at the end of the tunnel. But I reached out to a few different places. Undisputed Belts got back to me, and they said, hey, we'll sponsor your league. We've got some pre-made designs, some cookie-cutter belts that we do. We're getting into custom design, but not quite there yet. So once you have a winner, we'll let you pick from the 3 designs, and we'll send it out to them.
Nice.
I said, perfect. And they've been my partner and sponsor ever since, and this is one of the first custom-made belts that they ever made. And I asked them once I heard that they were doing it, I said, how much for a custom belt? And they said, for you on the house. So that goes with me everywhere.
You didn't have to fight anybody.
No.
You didn't have to wrestle.
No, I will fight people for it. They always say, I'll fight you for that. And I say time and place, and they never get back to me.
Oh,
so.
It's a prize. I think anyone would be lucky to have that around their waist. And I'd be willing to fight for that.
And what I love the most is, you know, I get to have a one-of-one conversation with the guest here at the comedy club or whatever event. And, of course, there's the meet and greet out there. But I'll do a photo back here, and I get, like, a really genuine, unique photo because they'll pose with me. Brad Williams did The Rock, where he's like, you know, and I had somebody, you know, do, like, a flex or, like, a Hulk Hogan and stuff. So it's funny. It brings out a different side of people. You know, and I love it.
I'm a huge MMA fan. I watch a lot of Bellator, UFC, and man, yeah. Anytime that belt changes hands, you can see that look in someone's eyes. Yeah, when they get that belt around their waist, or you know, there's a couple of champs, double champs right now. It's an exciting time.
Kenny Florian is one of the commentary guys for BattleBots. I'll get to see him tomorrow when I'm in Long Beach. He has been on the show. He has held the belt. So that is the belt that is signed by Mick Foley and has been held by Kenny Florian.
We were just talking before we started recording. I used to do a podcast when I was living down in Los Angeles with another comedian friend, Adam Hunter. The podcast is still going. It's fantastic if you're a fight fan. It's called MMA Roasted. And I got a chance to interview and meet Kenny Florian. He came in the studio and hung out. Super nice guy.
Couldn't be nicer. I love it.
And it doesn't surprise me that he's doing commentary for BattleBots or anything for that matter. He's really knowledgeable about the sport of MMA and a lot of other things. He played soccer and stuff in college and university, I think. And he's just like a real sharp guy, so that doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, he's great at the commentary for him. I don't know what sort of like gene you have to have in order to step from one area to talking about it, because Tony Romo did it with football. I mean, if you follow football, Tony Romo just steps into the booth and is like one of the best commentary now. But then Jason Witten tried it and he failed miserably. And so you either got it or you don't.
Yeah, absolutely. Same thing with the fights. You know, there's a lot of fighters who are great fighters, and it doesn't really translate into the booth. But for Florian, it does. He's got the gift of gab.
Yeah, he's a very enthusiastic guy. He gets very excited during the fights. And for him to talk about fighting, but for it to be a completely different element of fighting between machines.
Yeah, robot fighting.
It's so funny. Like, if you haven't seen an episode or watch, just for his commentary, it's good stuff.
I have watched BattleBots a long time ago, but I haven't watched it recently, so I'll have to check it out. If for no other reason, just to hear Ken Flo give his take on it.
Yeah. Usually the first question I ask during these is what it's like to be you, but when I booked you, there was a different question I wanted to start out with. A little sort of precursor to it. Have you seen the movie The Other Guys, Will Ferrell, Mark Wahlberg?
The buddy cop movie.
Yeah. So Mark Wahlberg learned ballet so that he could go and make fun of the kids that did ballet. Yeah. Right? And there's a huge thing about it. When I heard your comedy for the first time, you beatboxed, and you could beatbox really well. So what I need to know is, did you always know how to beatbox, and now it just makes that joke even more better? Or did you learn so that you could make that joke that much better?
Oh, that would be... no, the former. I've been beatboxing since probably like middle school. But... yeah, that would be a huge undertaking just for the sake
just
of the joke.
For a gig, right?
But I wouldn't. I mean, there's performers that you go to great lengths to make it. Like, I mean, I know if I'm going to talk about a subject like on stage, it's important to me that my premises are that they're accurate and they're correct and stuff. So I'll jump online and I'll research stuff because it's like, man, I don't want to, like, if someone doesn't think my joke is funny, that's one thing, but I'll be damned if someone's going to be like, your premise actually is flawed from a argumentative standpoint, and call me out on like a my credentials on the
technicality.
Joke. So, yeah, so I research jokes, but that would be going to great lengths to learn how to beatbox. Although nowadays on YouTube and stuff, there's all these instructional videos and stuff like that. I had a kid, Andy Bixby, in my grade school or middle school who had chops already. Man, he could beatbox, and I was like, and he taught me a thing or two. But I had buddies that like were super into rap, and they used to just like, I would beatbox, they would freestyle, and that's how we would like hang out at school and stuff.
Beatboxing to me, and that's an incredible story to hear that it's been part of who you are for so long. That's great to know. It makes it. I think that makes it better than it would have been funny if you had gone to the length to learn how to do it just for the joke. But I love that it's something that's like almost a hidden talent. Like if you did a talent show for comedians, like I can beatbox. Oh yeah, and then you do it. As a musician, because I grew up being in bands since 6th grade, tried different instruments, eventually got into drums. And of course, our version of beatboxing is like ba-da-da-da-da-da-da, or boom chicka chicka. It's not what beatboxing is, which makes your mouth sound like an actual instrument rhythmically. And we always used to joke that beatboxing was for guys who couldn't play instruments because your mouth was your instrument then.
I know exactly what you mean. So I was in band in middle school. I played trumpet though. And I wanted to play drums. I always thought that was cool. I had some other buddies that drummed. And but yeah, I know exactly what you mean because they talk out rhythms. They'll be like they'll talk out a rhythm in this little drummer language that they have. But no, it's something that catches people off guard sometimes. I don't know what people think a beatboxer is supposed to look like. But I've got a couple clips, like some of my dry bar stuff on YouTube, and just the comments. People are like, oh my God, he looks so straight laced, and he looks like a youth pastor. And I'm like, well, actually, when I was in college, I helped out with the high school youth group at the at the Presbyterian church that I went to. So I'm like, you are spot on, right there. But yeah, I mean, I think sometimes it catches people off guard, but it's just something. As soon as I started doing stand-up, I was like, you know what? I've got this other thing that I do. I'm like, how do I work this into stand-up? How do I bring this out on stage? It's fun. But also, as long as I've been doing it, I really started beatboxing a lot, or at least being recognized for it. When I was in college, I was in an a cappella group. So I was, they call it vocal percussion. So I was the vocal percussionist in the group, and we did competitions and showcases and stuff like that, and I got some awards for that and all. So
That is crazy, man. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's been fun. But what's crazy is like, I mean, so apparently I look like the youth pastor that I once was. Not a pastor. I don't have the credentials to really say that. I guess a youth group helper. But
there you go.
But man, I used to be super into hip hop. I used to break dance as well.
Wow.
I was in a crew, man.
I was in a crew.
I used to go mean mug people in my b-boy stance and battle. I used to do that. I don't anymore because comedy's taken over my life. I'm married. I got 2 kids, so that keeps me busy. But every now and then I got to throw down and show the youngsters what's up.
Have you ever gotten served?
Oh yeah, plenty of times. But they've said that if you're gonna get out there in the realm and you're gonna battle, then you're gonna lose. But it's the people that get out there and do it. I mean, dude, I used to go do these battles. So I was in. I had some friends I used to dance with, break dance with, like in Eugene when I was at U of O, and then after in Portland, it's like I started doing it a lot and going to battles and stuff like that. But some of the bigger events, there'd be crews everywhere from Seattle down to California and all around, and some of these crews would they'd come, they're devastating, they just destroy you, and you're like, all right, I'm okay on the regional circuit. I got some moves, but then I watch it now. The progression, I still love watching it. It's like any sport, I think, or any kind of sort of athletic pursuit. You watch it, anything like that, whether it's breakdancing, or I used to skateboard too a little bit when I was younger. You watch skateboarding, just the progression of sports, and they're infinite. Like I watch these b-boy battles now, like Red Bull puts on these events and stuff like that, battle of the year, or like these international battles. And the stuff that the people are doing, the b-boys and the b-girls are doing now, it's unreal. They're flying. They just fly. They jump off the ground, and they do like 15 flips, and then they land on their hand upside down, and then they do a pose, and you're just like,
wow.
Yeah, you could have destroyed literally everybody
that I
ever competed against.
Is it weird to say phrases like back in my day, knowing that you came from a culture and a decade, a generation that was like what we grew up with?
I don't know, man. There's times when I do feel like saying stuff like back in the kids these days. You sound like an old curmudgeon. But I don't know. Part of me, I think comedy, I don't know. I feel like, it's still my day. Hopefully,
still your day.
Hopefully, I feel like that phrase "my day," like his time was up. It was his day. It can be good or bad, but no, man. I mean, I feel fantastic. I just, but yeah, things were different back then. The world changed. A lot of it's like just cell phone era.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm old enough that I'm on that. Like I grew up, I didn't have a cell phone until college. I had friends that had cell phones before that. I was a little behind the times apparently, but I mean, only just like a couple of years later, you have kids coming up that were never without a cell phone, that were never without the internet, never without like YouTube and social media, and man, that changed so much. I mean, like, talking about beatboxing and stuff like that and breakdancing, like you can jump online right now and like there's dudes like, hey, what's up? My name's Trevor. I'm gonna tell you how to do a windmill. And right? And they have instructional videos. And I'm like, where was this when I was a kid? Dude, I was in my basement rewinding Breaking 2 Electric Boogaloo 15 times over, trying to be like, what is this guy doing? And how is he doing it? Beat Street and Breaking, dude. I watched Beat Street like 1,000 times. Just wore the VCR, Man, I never stole no moves from you. What's up with that, biter? Man, I never stole no moves from you. What's up with that, biter? Like, man, how is this guy doing this?
That's good stuff.
That's how I learned a lot of basic stuff, was like just rewind. But now instructional video, which I think is great. I'm not mad at it. I'm not like kids these days, they got it easy. I'm like, that's awesome. get out there, jump online, learn how to breakdance, learn how to beatbox, but then go outside. Do it outside. Get the fresh air, kids.
Yeah, don't be a basement dweller. Nobody wants one of those. You know?
Although I do tell people that, like, when you first start, like, if you want to learn how to beatbox or breakdance, it's a real steep learning curve. Like, don't let anyone see you do this until you've been doing it at least 6 months.
Yeah.
Because you'll be like, I'm breakdancing. And they're like, are you, though? You're just rolling on the ground. You gotta kind of, like, get past a certain threshold of, like, of skill before you really want to, like, showcase those skills.
I will 110% support that, agree with that. My extent of beatboxing is just...
You got it.
You know? And I only use that when my wife is like, so what do you want to do tonight? And I'm like... You know? That's it.
Yeah.
That's all I got. That's my move.
It cracks me up because, like, I still see stuff like comments, like... Because I do read the comments. I know everyone says, like, don't read the comments, but I read comments. And, like, I'd never heard that term, like, unsing, like, UNCING. And I'm like, oh, well, that totally makes sense. And I'm trying to think of, like, there's other terms I've heard referring to that kind of music. But...
So, what is it like to be Tyler Boeh? Now that we're back to what I normally start conversations like this with. You're headlining Spokane Comedy Club, and you've been doing dry bar. Life seems pretty good.
Pretty damn good, man. I'm a pretty happy dude. I really, which is good, and I don't take that for granted. Like, I understand that I'm super fortunate. Like, I got a great family. Like, you know, I come from a great family, but also I have a great family. My wife, I got 2 kids, and I mean, they're healthy. And they're great kids, so that's like the biggest thing, man. I got, I don't know, everybody experiences it, like, you know, stuff, you know, people getting sick in your family or friends. There's a lot of comedy's hard, man. There's a lot of comedians that are really struggling with, like, a lot of stuff. So, like, when I look at where I'm at and what I'm doing and what I'm able to do, like, I'm super happy. Comedy, I think, in some ways can be a grind like any other job. Like, there are parts of it, you know, planes, trains, and I was going to say planes, trains, and automobiles, which is just sort of a phrase. I can't remember the last time I was really on a train. A lot of shuttle buses.
There you go.
Shuttles. I ride, you know, on subway trains, I guess. But it's a lot of travel. So sometimes, you know, you're probably not super stoked to be jumping on those red-eye flights and, you know, turnaround flights and all that stuff. But it's good, man. You know, getting a chance to do what you love to do, make people laugh and perform and have fun. It's awesome. And a lot of people think, this is something I've always kind of tried to express to people, especially when they try to understand comedy, because there's a lot of different types of comics, I think, and people that do comedy. Because a lot of people think that it's like, oh, you're like that attention seeker. You got to have the spotlight on you. You got to have the attention on you. And what I've realized, at least for me, that I think that for me being on stage and performing is less about being the center of attention and more about connecting with people.
Makes sense.
And being able to connect with large groups of people and being able to be sort of the conduit that connects a room full of people.
Yeah.
And that's amazing, and it feels incredible. So when you're on stage and you can get an entire, you know, group, you know, room full of people who maybe don't know each other or really different people, if you can get them all, like, laughing together on the same page, on the same wavelength about whatever you're talking about, it's just such an awesome feeling. And it's to be able to, you know, make a living out of it is even cooler.
See, I've always loved comedians because I always wanted to be the funny guy in high school, you know. And I'd say, like, if you put the 10 funniest guys in your graduating class in a room, and I considered myself one, I'd probably be like number 9, you know.
All right.
right around there.
Yeah.
You know, modest prediction. But I don't see it as attention seeking. I never have. And I'm sure that there's guys that do it specifically for that. That's like their niche, that's their itch that they scratch. But most times, 9 times out of 10, guys, comedians do it because they love making people laugh. And why not? it's a great feeling for you. I love to laugh.
Yeah.
I love making other people laugh if I can. It's just a win-win. And if you can do it well and get paid to do it, I mean,
yeah.
you know?
Well, yeah, the performance part's a blast, man. I always have. I mean, I say all the time, like, I hope that people that come to my show have as much fun as I do. I mean, that's my goal, honestly, is to go up there and have the most fun, and then get everybody on board. When you do that, it's fantastic. And there's days too when you have this is what's awesome. It's like sometimes after a show, someone will come up to you and go, "Man, I had a really hard day, hard week, or whatever, and I really needed this." And that's really cool. Sometimes people are like, "Dude, you're funny, bro. I'm gonna buy you a shot," and you're like, "That's cool, that's fun too." But when someone like comes to you and says, "Hey, man, I had a really rough time lately. Really needed a laugh. It was great to just kind of forget about everything and just laugh for a while." That means a lot. But there's been times when I've realized, like, where I've had rough days and rough things going on in life, and people go, "Man, I really needed that laugh. I really needed this today." And there's times when I get off stage and I'm like, "Man, I really needed this today," because it's sort of the same thing for me to get on stage and just kind of be like, "All right, if you're going through some crap, whatever, then I gotta forget about that for a little bit while I'm on stage and just try to focus on other people."
And it's good that I can, sort of return the favor like that as a professional. Are you? Is the term clean comedy? Is that what you do? Because my wife and I saw you open, which you and I talked about before we started recording here in Spokane, and I remember we loved it and we remember it well because when you first did your beatboxing bit, we looked at each other like, can he really do that, or did he just get lucky? And then you did it again. We were like, this makes this joke that much better. And then we watched your special after I showed her your dry bar comedy bit online. We have Amazon. We saw it on there. Nice. And she thought we both loved it. But, I've noticed that there's not a lot of, like dirty stuff or swearing. So I don't know if it was just what we were seeing or if that's your kind of comedy and that's what it's called is clean comedy.
I don't know. I wouldn't necessarily want to label myself a clean comic because I have material, I have bits that I have done and do that aren't clean. I think I'm a cleaner comic, and I certainly have the ability to play clean and work clean. So, because there's a lot of comics, like this dry bar thing has been a really huge thing for a lot of comics, and it's gotten them a lot of exposure and a lot of press. And then what happens is, like, sometimes people see a comic. So if listeners don't know, Dry Bar put out a bunch of their goal was to put out a bunch of clean comedy specials on their platform.
Yeah.
So they selected a bunch of comics and recorded, most of them about 45 minutes. I would say probably 45 minutes or 50-minute long comedy specials. And the aim was to have it all be super clean. Now, some of the comics that they picked probably work, exclusively clean, and then some of the comics that they picked are not necessarily clean comics, but they have the ability to do 40 minutes or 45 or 50 minutes of clean material. So they did, but now since that stuff's really taken off, they're getting known as, oh, that guy's a great clean comic, which can be good because then you get. I mean, I've gotten some inquiries from people going, "Hey, man, we want you to come do this church fundraiser, or we want you to come do this." This all ages gig. There's going to be kids there. Can you do this senior all night party gig or whatever? But you got to be clean and all that. So it's good. I mean, it's. But there's some comics that I think aren't as excited about. They're like, oh man, now I go to a show, and if I do like a dirtier bit, then people come up to me afterwards and go, hey, I came to this show because I saw you on Dry Bar and I didn't know you were dirty. I don't know. I think generally I tend to steer more towards clean stuff just because that's who I am and what I appreciate in a show. But I've also always enjoyed this. Every now and then I'll get this compliment after a show where I will just do a show at a comedy club or whatever where I'm not even intentionally like trying to be like squeaky clean or anything, but someone will come up to me after a show and go, hey man, I thought you were really funny and we watched your whole show and we didn't even realize till afterwards like looking back, we're like, wow, you didn't curse, you didn't use the F word every 5 seconds, you didn't talk about explicit things, whatever. So I mean, and there's comics out there that I've that you watch, and that's, I think it's sort of cool when you watch someone and you go after the fact, you go, oh wow, man, that dude had me cracking up for this whole special, and you realize there weren't any blowjob jokes or or whatever. And I think anybody doing comedy like can write those, because I have my fair share of more blue material, and if I'm at some super rough gig, like I'll pull some of those bits out, and it's not that I'm against. If it's funny, I enjoy it. I love all kinds of comedy, and I've been a fan of comedy for longer than I've been doing it, and I love watching comedy, and I like stuff that's dark, but to me, it's got to be funny, not just dark for the sake of dark. If it's a dirtier joke, it's got to be funny. It can't just be dirty for the sake of shock.
And don't try too hard.
And I also think, I don't know, there's comics out there that are try to do sort of shock comedy, and I'm like, in 2019 and the internet, like, where can you go? Like, what can you say at this point that's really going to just shock anyone? I don't know. So I don't know. I just I kind of do what I do, and I think it tends to be on the clean side. And then if I have a gig where I need to be clean, then the nice thing is I can do that.
You're already used to it.
Yeah, and it's not hard, because I do shows sometimes with comics, and sometimes you get surprised. Sometimes you get to a gig and they go, now, just before the show starts, someone this is like a PG show, and there's like, or I've gotten to gigs where they go, there's kids in the crowd, and I've been working with comics that freak out, and they're like, what?
Oh, wow.
There's kids in the crowd? There's two ways to approach that. You either go, well, you're at a comedy show, kid. Here you go. You're an adult now.
Welcome to manhood.
Or you go, all right, well, I got to clean this up. I can't,
I think it's good that you can do it like that. The reason I brought it up is because, one, I had noticed it, like I said, but my parents, they were big comedy fans too. I say that word like they passed away or something, but they are big comedy fans. But when I grew up, it was, they loved Jeff Foxworthy and George Carlin. Yeah. Two very different comics, right? Jeff Foxworthy could do the clean redneck comedy, and you didn't even notice until it was over, and you thought back, did he swear at all? Was there anything even remotely dirty? No, not really. And then you had George Carlin, who was like that tenfold. Yeah. And so it just amazes me that each one had their own style, and it worked for them. I don't think I could ever see Jeff Foxworthy swearing without it completely shocking me. And to have a guy like George Carlin, if he ever tried to do something like a clean special, it would be almost weird to me. So I think I don't think what you do is makes you better than any comic. I just think it works well for you and your delivery and what you talk about when you do comedy. So hey, more power to you, man. That's Thanks, great stuff.
No, I think ultimately you have to be yourself. I mean, there are comics that kind of take on a character or persona, but I do believe that the people that really succeed with that is sort of part of who they are. It's a piece of who they are, and they accentuate that or whatever. But I mean, most comedy, the better you get, I think most comics are striving for some type of honesty, some type of truth, to be genuine in front of your audience. So, I think you got to be who you are. And if who you are is, angry, ranty, I mean, like, I love Lewis Black. Like, that was one of my favorite comics growing up. Like, that's an angry type of ranty guy. not necessarily dirty, but I love that guy. And he was one of my really early on comics that I listened to a lot and really liked. I don't think I'm anything like him necessarily, but he still inspired me. But like, that's who he is. I mean, I look at, you look at really any of the best comics, they're very true to who they are, I think, and they do what they do, and and people find them because not everybody's I mean, dude, there's something for everybody out there, and there's plenty of people who are like, you're gonna look at me and be like, that's not my speed, and they'll find something else. But I don't know. I'm just trying to be, who I am, and talk about what I think is funny and stuff that I think. But it's crazy too when you have kids. You start thinking about like, not necessarily is this material that I would want my kids to listen to, because they're 6 and 3, they're still quite young. But like as they grow up, like and maybe this is like, I don't know, sounds grandiose or whatever, but you go, all right, I'm recording, I'm just put out my second album like last year, and you're leaving sort of this legacy, and you go, all right, am I producing work that I'm going to be proud to have like my kids listen to, or
Yep.
And I think about that, and I'm sure lots of other comics do too. So, and that's not to say that you can't have dirty or edgy stuff that's really pushed, because we need those comics that push boundaries and push ideas and stuff like that. But I don't know. I'm like, that's on the back of my mind. I want to leave something and create stuff that my kids will be proud of and appreciate eventually.
That's good. Yeah, I think that's fair. And being a parent, I'm sure changes a person. I'm not a parent myself, but my wife and I, we talk about having kids enough where it's you start to really reevaluate some things, like the direction that you want to start going in life. And my last couple of questions for you here, since I know we got to wrap up in a minute, is how hard was it for you to finally take the plunge to do your first comedy? Because obviously you found your way into comedy by being a fan for so long. What was that? Was it an open mic or?
I was just thinking on our last topic there. I was watching my kids will grow up. They'll either not like comedy at all, and they'll be like, I'm more into a music kind of person, or they'll just love like filthy, dirty comedy. They're like, this is really what I enjoy. How did I get? It was really, really an easy transition for me to try stand up. I had always done some kind of performing in some capacity since I was really young. I started doing like school plays, and then I was in band like in middle school, and then I did theater.
So you got a knack for the stage.
Yeah, I did theater all through high school. I was in choir in high school, and in college I got into improv. Started doing improv, and I loved it. Did some short form and long form stuff, and that's what I thought was going to be my route. I was like, I'm going to graduate college. I'm going to move to Chicago, maybe try to get into Second City or something like that. And I think at that point in my life, the ultimate goal would have been like SNL or something like that. I loved Mad TV, Kids in the Hall, those types of sketch shows. And then after I graduated, I got back to Portland, and I was like, stand-up was something I always loved and I always wanted to try. So it was really easy for me to just be like, you know what? I went to a few open mics around Portland, and I was like, you know what? I got to just get up there and try it. I can do this. And I don't think I was cocky in the sense of like, oh, I got this. I'll be I'm a champ. But I meant like the idea that like with all the performing and the improv, I'm like, I can try this.
Yeah.
So I did, and I brought a couple of friends with me to my first open mic, good friends, and I was like, you know what? If I am awful at this, you got to tell me. And I knew that they would, because they're the kind of friends.
They're good friends.
Yeah, and I got off stage and they were like, "You were awful." No, they didn't. Like, and you should keep doing it. No, but so it was an easy kind of jump for me. But I had one of my friends that I first started doing comedy with. He'd never done any kind of performing, and he used to get so like stage fright. Was like, he'd never performed before. Yeah. And I'm talking like the type of dudes like throwing up before shows. And would just like go up there and like say like a sentence and then just drop the mic and bail.
Oh, wow.
And like leave the club. You'd be like, Pete, what happened to Pete? Oh, he left. But yeah, I had already done, I think, a fair amount of performing, so it was an easy transition. But that's also when, all the work began, because you go, this is hard. There's like so much to it. But
lucky you, though. I mean, not everybody has that. Like you said, those examples. So what does the future hold? I see you as a guy who wants to get in a big RV and take the family and perform at like state fairs all over the country during the summer. I mean, I don't mean that like as a bad thing. That's just what I see your ultimate goal being.
I have not done a state fair, but I have. My wife is a nurse practitioner, and there is such a thing as called a traveling nurse, where you can go fill in at hospitals or clinics where they need more nurses and NPs and stuff like that. So I was like, what if you sign up for like the traveling nurse gig? And I pitched that before.
Wow.
Like we get the RV, we hit the road. I do shows. You can do some nursing, and we'll just make it work. But I don't know. We have a house now in Portland, and I'm like, man, this seems pretty sweet.
Yeah, you got the sweet life,
stay
man.
put.
Yeah,
and then I'll just travel. Yeah. I don't know. I love the live performance. I love getting out doing shows in clubs. I do a lot of colleges, and I want to just keep doing fun shows and keep putting out good work. My last album, like I said, came out last year, and it's done really well. It's doing really well. Super happy with it, and hopefully I can put out another album. And I don't know. Maybe it'd be ambitious to say another year or two, but there's certainly comics out there that are pushing out albums that fast and good albums too. So, I just stay busy.
Stay busy, man. I respect that. And from
the ultimate goal is to get this belt around my waist one day.
We're gonna
feel the weight of that gold.
From opening for Jay Chandrasekhar, or however you say his last name, Ramathorn from Super Troopers a couple of years ago right here in this very comedy club, to headlining the 18th, 19th, and 20th. That's something, man. That is something. Congratulations. And like I said, I'm a fan of your stuff. I'm glad we could have you on the show, but I look forward to seeing you before I take off tomorrow.
Thank you, man. Thanks for having me on. And to anybody that's in this greater Spokane area, come check out a show. You've got a really great comedy club here. If you've never been, they're doing good things here. So come check out a show. Come see me this weekend. We'll have fun.
Tickets available, SpokaneComedyClub.com. He is Tyler Boeh, and thank you so much again, man. We'll see you soon.
Thanks.
Do you remember the time that Mark Sanchez ran into his player's spot? That was funny sports.
Thank you for having me on the show, man. I love the F.A.N show.